Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the instructions in the video description. So you have a
Yeah,
high
so I've
stakes
got a
hand.
hand. Yeah, I do. I have a hand from the Aria Hotel a couple of months back.
Is this a
It was
25-50?
25.
25-50, okay.
Yeah, it was actually a 10-20 game with a mandatory straddle that turned into a 25-50 game. And I was waiting for the big game that was in, the Ivory Room that was like 100, 200, but this game was just good, so I ended up staying here.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, we're 17, so 25-50, no limit hold'em. We're 17,900 effective. And I cover the villain. I have about 35K in front of me. Villain, he's just a bit of backstory. He's 50-something-ish, businessman, very aggressive, but sort of competent. You know, the few times that he has 3-bet or 4-bet anyone, he's always just continued to bet, flop, turn, river. And if he has got to showdown, he's always had the goods. So I haven't seen him do anything crazy. He seems to know what he's doing. So anyhow, the hand starts out with the under-the-gun player who's mid-30s, Chinese guy, very, very nitty.
Okay.
Played sort of, we've been there 3 hours. He's played like 4 hands. So he opened for $200.
Okay.
Everybody folds to me in the cutoff. I have 2 black kings, and I decide against this first player is open just to flat. The button folds, small blind, calls 200, and now the main villain, in the big blind, he 3-bets to 1250.
So what was the reason? What was the reasoning for flatting the king with king in the cutoff against the Asian guy?
He was just from what I'd seen, he was so tight that I thought I've seen him sort of when he was 3-bet, he folded 10s face up. And I just thought, okay, this is just a player. It's going to be stupid. Unless he has a super premium hand, he's not calling. And I'd rather be able to play in position and just be nice and tricky. And I didn't think, considering that he was such a tight player, that the small blind and the big blind, anybody be calling. I just figured they'd fold.
How deep was the Asian guy? Just out of curiosity, the under the gun.
He didn't. He had about $7,000 in front of him.
Okay, so just not not that deep. Yeah, not overly deep.
No, he's not that deep. No,
okay,
exactly. He's not that deep.
So you get this get this aggressive businessman to basically squeeze, right? At about 18K effective to 1250. What, the Asian guy folds, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so my thought process at the time was that if the Asian guy calls, then I'm going to 4-bet.
You're going to back raise,
Asian but he folded, play got back to me, and I decided just to flat again.
Interesting.
I normally would 4-bet this situation, but I think I just played it so passively that I thought, okay, I can just flat and see a flop and be very, very sort of sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are pretty deep. I mean, it's tough to put this to know when this is going to be a back 3-bet. I remember playing a hand against Sean Deeb, like at the World Series, like many moons ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, like the last time they had a 10,000 pot limit hold'em event, and there was a hand that went down similar to this where a guy raised, I called the button 3-bet, Deeb 4-bet, and then I back 5-bet, and my sizing was basically very large, and it committed myself in a pot limit 10K pot limit tournament with no ante. And then when I was thinking back, it was like, wow, kings would have been is just a perfect flat there to that action of a 4-bet. Here, you're thinking about. I mean, I think it's probably you back raise sometimes, call sometimes, but you would certainly have to take into account that your hand is. When I talk about people think that I think people use the term underrepresented way too much, but here it clearly is depending on what comes out. So you make the call, and I'm assuming the small blind folds. Is that right?
The small blind does fold.
Okay.
So we go heads up to the flop.
Yep.
And the flop comes the 9 of hearts, 2 of clubs, the 2 of diamonds.
9 of hearts, 2 of clubs, 2 of diamonds. Is that right? 9 deuce deuce?
Yeah, correct. So complete rainbow, and what I consider to be a very, very good flop for me. So Yeah, so he leads out again, but this time he sizes down. He leads out for 750, and I decide just to flat, just to keep his entire range in.
So he leads for
I
750. I'm just trying to do the math on the fly here. 1250 into like 3,000. By the way, someone made a good point there in the live chat too that depending on what the small blind, what he was and like how deep he was, like if the small blind wasn't in the hand, then it becomes much more like I like the flat a lot more. If the small blind's
right.
going to be in the hand sometimes and he's going to call when you overcall, then I would like a three bet as a back raise more. But whatever, I just want to point that out. He
No,
bets,
I appreciate that.
yeah, he
In
bet.
all honesty, in real time, he didn't seem very interested. If that once the pot was three betted, and and I was waiting to make a decision, I could tell that he was just kind of like, oh, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
So I think I felt pretty comfortable that he was never calling because you're right. I think with three people playing this hand, I would have wanted to get this hand heads up.
right.
It's just I didn't want to sort of overplay the kings and make my hand face up. Really, that's mostly what I wanted not to do.
Well, there isn't really much of a back three bet range usually, yeah, in live poker. But this is kind of interesting. I would assume that starting at over, 3,000. I would assume actually, yeah, starting at just over 350 blinds. That basically this would just be kind of a call here. I mean, obviously the guy is a little bit aggressive, and you're
I'm
back.
so sorry. I
No, no worries.
apologize.
No worries. It was like you. It was like you never left. So what I was saying is
Okay.
that like you're at 300 blinds here. This is probably
Yeah,
played as a straight call. If you're a little bit shallower, then you're just shoveling the money. And I assume you called.
I did. Yeah.
Yep.
I did. I just splattered and called,
Yep.
and so we headed off to the turn, which now came a six of diamonds.
Okay.
And this is really where my major question is because, I thought, again, this was a pretty safe card for me. I mean, I appreciate it put some backdoor diamond draws down, but still. He checks now, and I think of, I'm trying to size correctly, and I decide to bet 26.50.
Do you remember what the suits of
which
your
is,
do you remember the suits of your kings, by the way?
yeah, I have two black kings.
Okay.
So king of spades, king of clubs.
Okay. So he checks, and
Yeah, he
you
checked
bet.
26.50, which is about just a little bit less than 60%, 55% pot.
Okay, I mean, I definitely can get on board with that. I mean, it's just one of these spots where I think Kings is too good to not even maybe even go for two streets here, go bet because he could be squeezing with many other hands. And I actually saw
Right.
a hand like this go down between Lee Marcolt and what the fuck, this super high stakes pro back at Commerce like 10 years ago where Lee Marcolt was your villain, like in your spot, and this high stakes superstar guy had kings just like you in position, and the hand sort of played out like this. And Marcolt check called turn and check called river with aces, which is kind of interesting because they were like infinitely deep. And I was thinking to myself, well, this Asian pro definitely should have gone bet, which he did with kings in position. It's just too good. So I can get on board with the bet here. So you bet 26.50.
Yeah, I bet 26.50, and
Yeah.
like I said, this is where I got super confused because he now basically min check raises me. I mean, he makes it 6,500. And I have all alarm bells going off in my head. I'm just thinking, with our stack depth as it is, if I'm calling, I'm basically calling for stacks now. And honestly, in these type of games, as much as I play them, I've never seen anyone ever min check raise unless they have like a super nutted hand compared to your hand, and compared to, for example, my type of hand. So
Well, I'm just trying to do some math here because if you make this call 13 for this pot will be like what, like 16,000, then you'll have what, like 10,000 left. Is that right around?
correct.
So I don't think it's
Yeah,
just
correct.
I
So
mean, I think that. I mean, I think this is just a call all day. I don't think that you're in a spot where like it's a jam or fold. I think I mean, I would play this as a call. When you get a 1.5 pot size bets, well, excuse me, you've got 60% of a pot size bet left. I mean, you're not really I mean, I guess it's probably closer than I thought on the surface. I mean, the theory would be like if he's doing this with like, and the reason why I asked the suits of your kings is obviously it's much better that you don't have the king of diamonds here. But
Yeah, this is the major thing that sort of came into my thinking when I did make this call.
I mean, I think
I
that
mean, when I was
I think I would call and then just call across non-diamond rivers. Um,
right,
yeah, I mean, an
this
offsuit ace would be like a little weird too. Like if you were, I mean, an offsuit ace and he went for an offsuit ace would kind of suck too because he should have a clear value bet with, I feel like nut diamond, especially like high nut diamond hands. So, but I mean, if you hit a, if it just, I think you're just gonna have to go call across non diamonds. The way that you played it, I mean, that's what it sounds like. That's how I would play it. So, did you make the call on the turn?
exactly what I did. I made the
Okay.
call on the turn.
Yeah.
Honestly, I made the call on the turn thinking that if a non-diamond comes on the river and it's not an ace and he shoves, I told myself I was going to fold because my gut feeling was just I'm not good here.
Yeah.
I just didn't think that there was any bluffs that he could have in that position if a diamond doesn't come that he's ever going to turn his hand into a bluff. There just wasn't enough money because the pot would have been 17-4 and he had like 9,000 something left.
Once you make the call, I mean, I guess it's I mean, it's probably closer than I thought on the surface. I mean, the idea. I mean, usually when you get to a threshold of if it's like less than a third of a pot size bet left, then you should basically with a PSR is like less than a third, then you should just basically jam. But with still over half, I think that calling is fine. I mean, I think it's probably, like I said, it's probably much closer than I thought initially, but I don't think it's just jam all day. Because your hand, remember, it's not like you have so many more hands here. Like you have a really, really good hand for the preflop action, right? Like you could
Right.
have hands here that it's not like a multi-bet, like a very extreme situation where it's a 4-bet pot and the guy knows that you've got an overpair, super strong aces and kings, and you're probably not going to fold if the draws don't complete. You have a lot more hands here because you just went call and then called a 3-bet, right? Like you called in the cutoff and then called his squeeze
Right.
to a 3-bet,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and it's like, well, you can have a lot more hands than just kings here because your pre-flop range is much wider. So you make the call. That's why I think it's a little bit different. So you make the call.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
make the call, and the river comes the 10 of clubs.
Okay.
So basically, the draws that I was expecting all miss.
Yeah.
And yeah, he then shoves for his remaining. Was it close to 9,000 or 9,000 and a bit dollars? He shoves for the remainder of his stack.
I mean,
I'm getting almost 3-1, 2-1.
you can't. Yeah. I mean, the way that this hand is played out. I mean, if you want the theory answer, if I was playing in a game like this, and I'm comfortable at these stakes, which I am, and I've played a fair amount of stakes at this level, I'm definitely even more comfortable now after the summer. But especially against an unknown, like there's just no way I'm going to fold here. Like you have to make a massive exploit. This is sort of the definition of your hand being sort of under-repped. I mean, what other hands are you going to have here that are better? If you're folding out ace-deuce suited here, maybe occasionally, I don't know if you're supposed to call to a 6x with ace-deuce suited, but let's say you don't have any deuces here. What hands do you have that are better than kings here as played? 9s, 6s, I guess, and 10s, but I mean, of the one pair of hands, I can't fold.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with
Yeah.
you 100%. And when I look back at this hand, without being results orientated, I think in real time I did the same thing as well. I thought, okay,
Yeah.
I don't have the king of diamonds in my hand. If I did have the king of diamonds, that might have been sometimes I'd be throwing that away. But considering that I don't, I'm just going to call. I'm just going to, bite down and just call. So I did end up making a call and doubled up this gentleman because he had ace, deuce of spades.
Ace, deuce of spades?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
hand I didn't think that he would ever show up there.
Yeah, again, it's just one of these things where I understand. I mean, it's a very, very huge deviation to be able to fold here. I don't think that you did anything really wrong. I mean, I called off my main event tournament life in a spot like this, doing combo work against an aggressive player, and I was like, he's capable of bluffing. I have to decide how I'm going to call, and that's how I would have done it. I mean, I would have done it with the suits. But I like to thank you for calling in. We don't really get hands probably, at this high stakes, but I think that's,
no, thank you.
like I said, that would be a
it.
massive deviation for you to fold there. So.
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, I did what I would normally do. It just didn't work out in this particular situation, which is okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you, and I love your show. I listen to all your shows, and I love your feedback. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.